Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game So we're doing a series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, and I got a fun one for you today because we're doing the first part of our MiSTer Multisystem 2 review. Because you guys have been asking me in the comments on Twitter and on Discord if I'm going to be reviewing this, and Richard from Heber was nice enough to send over a unit with accessories, so we're going to be doing a full review. I'm going to tear it down to the PCB, talk about all the hardware on the inside, as well as all the different accessories you can get, who this is for, and whether or not I recommend it. If you don't want to watch the whole video and you want a TLDR, trust me, this is definitely something you probably want under your television. Before you get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. One of the things I always hear people talk about when they talk about MiSTer FPGA and wanting is that classic console design that would basically slot in nicely under their television. That's exactly what Heber has done here with the Multisystem 2. Not only is it a fully functional MiSTer FPGA that's going to bring along everything that the MiSTer FPGA has to offer, but it has a bunch of different quote-unquote party tricks for expandability, and I would say as far as the case in and of itself is concerned, the industrial design on this absolutely looks stunning in my opinion. It is just a fun time, and I'm not sure if they were trying to use the same colors for 3DO, but that is always a bonus for me personally. And you will see all of the buttons that you would need to interact with MiSTer FPGA's menu off a controller have been moved to the front of the console. So if this thing is just sitting on your TV stand, you can go ahead and just walk up and press those versus having to find anything, including the power switch on the front. And the layout and overall port design here on the Multisystem 2 case just makes this so incredibly easy to use. It's no different than walking up to a Sega Saturn, a Nintendo 64, or PlayStation One, and just kind of interacting with the entire system just like you would if this was something that came out in the 90s. Just plop down on your TV and decided to have fun playing. And as far as what it does, obviously, if you know what MiSTer FPGA is, you know exactly what this is going to be. But if this is your first time hearing about MiSTer FPGA, it is an FPGA console that loads up different cores, which de facto become those systems. We have an absolute ton of them on MiSTer between Nintendo 64, Sega Saturn, PlayStation 1, Neo Geo. Honestly, it's too much to mention here. Now, if you know what MiSTer FPGA is, all you need to know is that the Multisystem 2 does everything MiSTer FPGA does exactly the same, and that's because it is a MiSTer FPGA board. It is a custom-designed PCB that we'll get into in a moment, but it is doing exactly what any other MiSTer would do as far as playing the games is concerned. And that's what we want. But I would say the number one, my favorite thing about this entire system has got to be the full-size SD card. Don't get me wrong, I have a bunch of micro SD cards. I don't really mind them, but they can be absolutely tiny. Having this full-size card right here is absolutely just the best in my opinion. And the nice thing is, because this is just MiSTer FPGA, your SD card from any other installation is portable to this system. Plug it in with an adapter and you just turn the power on, and it's running like any other MiSTer installation, because that's exactly what it is. And you'll see here behind the door you do have an expansion slot, which is basically going to act like a snack adapter, just with a different pin out as far as the port is concerned. You can put controller adapters in there, you can put different video cards in there. It is a one-size-fits-all kind of cartridge system, and I really do like that as a standard, because you can pick up every single expansion cartridge if you want it. If all you need is a PlayStation 1, a Sega Saturn, or a Super Nintendo snack adapter, you can grab that too. And if you want to do something like composite video or S-video out, there's also an adapter for that going through this same port, and I do love how they are designed. I'll explain that in just a moment, but the nice thing is, just from a usability standpoint, I appreciate how many points of contact there are going to be on these cartridges. There's going to be no concern for any strain on that port whatsoever, and I love that. Because one of the number one things I talk about when I talk about snack adapters on other MiSTer FPGA builds is just making sure that the strain relief is taken care of. Now, I love how these cards are designed, because the one that's going to give you composite and S-video is designed in an orientation where all of the video ports are going to come off the back, just like all the other ports on the back end of this, and we will go over all the ports in just a moment. And then if you want to play around with it, you have different switches to enable different devices. But if you want to go to a controller adapter, obviously you don't want that actual cable snaking around the back, so when you plug in something like the Super Nintendo snack adapter into this custom port, you're going to have everything facing forward. That is a very small touch, but it's one that's going to make a ton of usability difference as far as you actually playing with this thing, and that's what I'm really finding with the Multisystem 2. Everything has been designed in a way where the designers have considered how you're going to interact with the system, how you're going to be using it on a day-to-day basis, and making sure it is just absolutely seamless from start to finish, because when you design the PCB inside of it, you really have one goal: make sure it works electronically as a MiSTer FPGA, and that has definitely been hit here. When it comes to actually designing the objects and making sure that that tactile feel when you're interacting with them is good, that is something that definitely takes a deft hand, and they have nailed it here at Heber. And if you're wondering the overall footprint, here is a PlayStation 1 and here's a Multisystem 2. When I put it back, I will line the back edge of the PlayStation 1 up with the back edge of the MiSTer's Multisystem 2 so you know exactly what the size is going to be. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's just right. And again, this is going to be everything a MiSTer is. Every single core that runs on MiSTer FPGA is going to run on the Multisystem 2. Just be aware that this is a single 128 megabyte of RAM setup, and right now we really only have 2 cores that can't even utilize dual RAM. We have the Sega Saturn that's a work in progress, and the Atari Jaguar. And as far as PlayStation 1 is concerned, it has a dual RAM variant, but it really isn't anything that anyone's going to use. But let's take a look around the back, because that's where, again, this unit shines. Now, do be aware there's going to be 2 different SKUs for the Multisystem 2. One that is going to be digital only, and one that's going to have analog. I have the analog here so I can do the maximum testing, and if there's any sort of signal test you want to see on my PVM, leave me a comment down below for a part 2. But you're going to have HDMI, optical audio, you're going to have a standard headphone jack, that mini DIN port, you're also going to have the VGA port that'll carry a ton of different signals, you have your Ethernet, and then 2 USB ports on the back as well. So as far as the analog unit is concerned, there's absolutely no port that hasn't been considered when you actually add in that adapter cartridge to do composite as well as S-Video. And on the top here, not installed in my unit, but you can have one built in when you get one of these units, is going to be the NFC reader. Now be aware, tab 2 is actually switched to Zapparoo. The names are different. I just don't have a Zapparoo card for on camera, but you can put any NFC reader here and load up games by slotting the cards in or otherwise tapping them to the top, which is going to be a fun way to kind of have that analog to an actual cartridge. Now on the left and right hand side of the unit, there's going to be 2 different ports that you can open up as well, with a ton of different expansion pin headers and otherwise. You're also going to have some dip switches in here to go from 24-bit color mode to 16 to 18 depending on what you want to do. And do be aware that some of the cores of MiSTer FPGA have that 24-bit color mode, but it is not all encompassing, and that's down to the original hardware and what it did with color. But as far as the expandability of the Multisystem 2, basically everything has been considered here, and it is one of those realities. Maybe you'll open these panels up and plug something else in the future. Maybe you'll never actually take the panels off, just so you know they are screw mounted on the bottom, so they're going to stay there unless you take the screws off. But I appreciate all the expandability, the I2C headers, everything else you're going to have on here, all the dip switches to configure different things. For the most part, you're never going to be under the hood on your Multisystem 2, but I appreciate that they've considered absolutely everything, including future-proofing this to make sure you have more. And as far as the bottom of the console is concerned, I love that they have the Heber mouse underneath there with that 3D printed circle, and everyone loves to see the underside of consoles. I totally get it. And of course you got a couple of feet as well, so the thing doesn't slide around, but honestly it'd take a lot to slide this thing around. You'd probably be muscling it a little bit too hard. And as far as the design, again, even on the bottom where you don't need to put much detail, I absolutely love that there is consideration here, so you may as well give a mouse a little piece of cheese just for the visual gag. But let's take a look at what's under the hood, because that is where this is a really fun design as far as the actual electronic engineering is concerned, because this is clearly a full custom PCB. This is not using the Triassic DE10 Nano, the MiSTer Pi, or the QM Tech board. Yes, it's the exact same Cyclone 5 FPGA chip with the ARM cores on board, so it's using the identical hardware as far as the FPGA chip is concerned for MiSTer FPGA, but Heber has designed this entire PCB from start to finish like they did on the Multisystem 1, but that obviously used an actual DE10 board attached to it. And you'll see here MiSTer FPGA and the Heber logo at the top. I just like kind of showing off the little bit of design details on PCBs. I absolutely love when they spend that time and dedication, not just to making sure that it works well, but that it also looks fun in case you take a look at it. And you'll see here it is passively cooled with a heatsink, and that's totally fine. Most MiSTer FPGA builds out there are passively cooled, including the one that I use all the time for all of my captures. If we just take a look around the PCB as well, there is one bodge capacitor on there because this is still a pre-production unit. You'll never see that on yours, and I wasn't even going to mention it except for the fact that it's on camera. I figured you guys would want to know in case you spotted it. But again, I can't stress enough, this is just MiSTer FPGA. I want you to have that takeaway here. Even though it's a custom PCB design, the software it runs, the FPGA chip on it, the RAM on it, is going to be that MiSTer FPGA that you know, love, and remember. Or if you're not part of the MiSTer FPGA club yet, that FPGA design that you definitely want to get into. Because if this is going to be your first MiSTer FPGA, it's totally designed for that initial user experience, just like a console, and it is going to be a great entry point. But if you want a second MiSTer FPGA, also a great thing to consider. Now, as far as the case construction is concerned, it is 3D printed. I'm sure that is to keep the cost down, because at $275 approximate US dollars for this thing is absolutely a great value. And while it would be fun to see an injection molded case in the future, having worked in optics design when I worked at Burton Snowboards and having to get some of those molds made, I can tell you they're obscenely expensive, and it would have raised the price a ton. And again, if you do have a MiSTer FPGA that you just want to kind of pivot over to, you can just pop the micro SD card out, put it in an adapter, pop it in the multi-system too, and hit power, because it's 100% transportable. Because again, this is just MiSTer FPGA. It is just a fun new design. If you've never used it before, I will leave a link in the description below if you want to pick one up, on how to set everything up with MiSTer Fusion, how to get everything updated with Update All, and just basically get yourself up and running for the first time. And even though it says 2024 guide, basically nothing has changed. This has been a very static procedure for years now, so if you do need help with that, again, I will leave a link below. And if you want to see some more in-depth tests on anything this multi-system 2 can do tell me down below, because I love doing the initial review, telling you about all the hardware and exactly how it works, what I think of it, and then I'd like you to tell me what it is you'd like to see for a part 2, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there, and I can definitely answer them, but I can't think of them all off the top of my head. I like to talk about the design, what it does, how the PCBs function, and then you guys come up with creative questions for me to answer. And as far as the snack adapters are concerned too, and all of the PCBs and design on these boards, absolutely outstanding. You can tell that these are high quality items. Even the 3D printed cases, there's a cover on the snack adapter, so everything's protected. And if you don't already own a MiSTer FPGA, you need a power supply. Heber is going to be selling this meanwhile as well, which is absolutely outstanding. I actually have a few of these in my collection for different MiSTer FPGA builds, and this thing is going to absolutely be able to max out whatever you want on it, because obviously it's going to be 5 volt, but it also allows for 4 amps of draw, and that's going to let you plug in basically everything you could possibly imagine to the MiSTer Multisystem 2, and you won't have to worry about any reduced power loss there, because 4 amps is going to be more than enough. And just from a physical design standpoint, you got your power and HDMI coming out of the back, your controllers coming out of the front. If you want to do something like a wireless controller, you wouldn't even have any cables coming out of the front if you didn't want them to. And there's going to be so many different snack adapters available here. You're going to have stuff like Saturn, NES, Super Nintendo. You're going to have the MT32 Pi hats. You're going to have a 5 controller plug TurboGrafx 16 PC Engine adapter. Although do be aware that is PC Engine setup, not the TurboGrafx port, which is larger. The 4-port Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, and of course those different video carts as well that are going to give you composite as well as S-video. But as far as the Multisystem 2 is concerned, I can find absolutely nothing about this thing to make a note of or fault. It is a MiSTer FPGA. It is very intelligently designed from a usability standpoint. It just feels like that MiSTer FPGA console you want to put under your television, and the price is highly competitive. Now, if you want to see any specific tests or know any more information, leave me a comment down below, and I will definitely follow up on this, because I want you guys to have all the information you want. But if you do want to pick one of these up, rest assured you will not be disappointed. See you guys next time. Bye bye.